Okay. Well, I don't know what to believe or anything. Everything is so, who knows what to believe. But I believe something deep inside. But I was just uh, hearing about a New York Times report. Yesterday was, among other things, was Holocaust Memorial Day. Holocaust Memorial Day. I remember when I was nine, I think 9 years old, and we saw newsreels of entering the camp and the release of the prisoners in Auschwitz. And that seems to, how do I, I don't want to, how do I admit? Here it is. And so Eisenhower in the camps was very touching. Though I mean, to say the, I mean, my God, pure hell. And so yesterday was the Memorial Day for the end of the Holocaust. The Holocaust never seemed to never stop in some way, of one sort or another. But it was at the end in Germany for the Second World War. I mean, how do I hell? Here's someone. Okay. And the article, this is true. It sounds like, unfortunately, it probably is. I'll have to look, find it. More people coming. So Elon Musk, I am told, gave a talk for the Germans yesterday, for the Germans during the Holocaust Memorial, saying something like, "What? Here's what I heard. What do I do now? Admit, okay?" And telling the German people, don't feel guilty about what happened. Don't feel guilty about what was done. He didn't say it's only 15 million Jews, and what about all the gypsies, and what about all the. He just said, don't feel guilty about what you did. You take care of your country, of the German people. There should only be Germans in Germany. And you should do what you can with yourself. See to it that Germany does beautiful things, good things, whatever. So anyway, that was sort of the what I heard um, from an article in the Times. More people here. I can't tell who's here and who's not. Let's see. All right, print is small. I think that's it. I think people are here in here. Okay. So that was what I heard. And if it's so, that puts another interpretation, it puts the interpretation uh, what Elon Musk's hand. Was it an accident? He was flailing his hand. And we see here his hand was not flailing. It was not an error. It was, he gave the salute, the Nazi salute, the Heil Hitler salute on Memorial Day for the Holocaust, and saying Germany will do good. Germany will forget about it. Okay, so I'm going to have to look at the article and see if there's any film of it, but the kind of, wow, you know, let's see here. I have people. I wanted to make a list of the people, but I can't keep up with it. Anyway, what is it? What's going on? And of course, I think Rosemary starts the chapter. This is a pretty, I wouldn't say horrible chapter, ugly chapter. I don't like that, because he is pretty honestly confessing what it's like to be him. Like when the little baby Parthenope came crawling on the floor to be with her daddy, who was sitting in a chair, and he couldn't he was ice. He couldn't bend over. He couldn't comfort her. He couldn't pick her up. And she just cried and cried and cried. How old was she? I don't remember. 3, 4, 2. I don't remember. And the woman who takes care of her picks her up and comforts her. And he writes about it. He tells about it. What he was, this part of him. It's not the only part of him. He loves nature. He loves beauty. He loves people. He loves sex. He loves psychoanalysis, philosophy. Go on and on. What he had this part of him too. He had this part of the stone, turning to stone, turning to ice. That was part of him too. And he relates it to different parts of his upbringing and to the war, the First World War, where he charts the difference between the people who fought in the war and then went to college and the people who were in college and didn't fight in the war. He said, what a difference. So anyway, so this is not going to be about a pretty part of Beyond. It's going to be interesting. I wouldn't say exactly it's a confession or it's a psychoanalytic session. I wouldn't go there, but maybe it's part of it. A little. He's a public confession. How could that be? But here it is, at least to some degree. So we began last time with Rosemary. I don't think she has a visible part, except for the first moment of this chapter, Rosemary. She doesn't talk. She doesn't say anything. She begins the chapter. Just her presence begins the chapter. What kind of a presence? And this presence is sort of like sets the tone that runs through the chapter. There are other things in the chapter. He has humor. He has an irony. He's a lot of things. Beauty, love of culture. God knows. Truth, cruel truth, compassionate truth. Well, anyway, Rosemary. We did it last time, but it's going to be a presence, a silent presence that runs through the chapter. What is this silent tone, this mood, this intimation, this feeling that runs through, this attitude that runs through? I love the, where did I get it from? Gestalt psychology, I think, about attitude being a framework for feelings. You don't have an attitude as a framework for feelings. It's Gestalt. Anyway, Rosemary is silent. And she's silent. And this silent essence, the silent mood, the silence presence runs through the chapter. Rosemary is silent, but her resignation is in no way passive. We'll have to cope with that word, resignation. It's a mood, it's a feeling, it's an attitude. Being resigned doesn't sound like a very positive attitude, but it has mixed moments. Resignation. Maybe sometimes it's positive because you resign. You have a resignation about certain things that happen in life, and you don't have to fight and scream about it. You open new fields of experience. You allow new fields of experience to open with a certain resignation. But here the tone runs through here, not a passive resignation. In no way passive. It is impossible to convey the vivid. No, that's not the word. Let me get a better look here. Is that the word? The vivid, vital disapproval. That's the kind of resignation it is. It's a silent disapproval. A silent disapproval that runs through the whole business. The silent disapproval of her silence. This vivid, vital disapproval of her silence. So it's a disapproving silence. You know, that can happen in many situations where you do something that offends someone, and instead of screaming back at you or starting a fight, they might look at you with a silence that kills, a disapproving silence. It shuts you up, maybe more than a fight, more than yelling. That disapproving silence runs right through you. It's like an ethereal dagger. And anyway, that sets the tone for this chapter. And she doesn't have any more moments like in the chapter. Then the rest of the chapter is basically man and beyond, beyond and man, basically. So this is beyond, I don't know what to say. Confronting himself, no. Expressing himself, yes, no. Being with himself, honoring, oh, no. Confessing, he's, I wish there were a priest there for him to confess to, or an analyst, or I don't know. He's saying it's awful. This is part of the awfulness of being alive. Let me see what it is. What can we do with it? What can we do with Lady Macbeth? What can we do with her madness? Come back in 300 years. What do we do with ourselves? So let's see what we can do in a few minutes here. So man then comes in and talking, and man is supposedly looks like he's talking to Rosemary, who's now basking in a I won't call it a flood, in a tone, in an attitude of silent disapproval. What do we disapprove of? Is there anything you disapprove of in a silent way? Anyway, here it is, disapproving of life, of what's wrong with life, of the hurt of life, of the terrible things that happened in the war that are potentially happening now. Impossible to convey the vivid, vital disappointment, disapproval, disappointment, disapproval of her silence, a negative silence, not the silence of Sunyata. It's a negative silence, not a loving silence, a hurt silence, a hating silence, breakdown silence. Man, supposedly to Rosemary. And he starts talking like Krishna might talk. Arjuna, well, Arjuna's supposedly, potentially another part of us that wants peace. Potentially. He gets shut up by his creator, by Krishna. You want peace? I put you here to fight, to kill, for war. You're a fighter, a soldier. Go out there and kill. Kill what? My relatives? My family? Yes, yes, says Krishna. Yes, if you have to, that's who you kill. Whoever. So Arjuna said, you remember, I will not fight. So I will not fight, and threw down his bow. You remember I did that? I didn't want to fight, and I threw down my bow, like the soldiers who deserted in the war and were punished, but they didn't want to fight. They didn't want to hurt. They didn't want to get hurt. Threw down his bow. He did, however, pick it up again, allowing himself to be persuaded by Krishna. I put you on earth to kill, to fight and kill. That's what you do. Don't ask questions. Don't put your bow down. I didn't put you here for peace. Well, this is scary stuff. This is what a God says. I put you here to fight. So, persuaded by Krishna that he did not know everything. So Krishna says, what do you know? You're just a little guy. You're a little guy with a bow. And you don't know what the big picture is. Maybe you'll be doing good by killing. Maybe you'll be doing good by fighting. Make America great again. Do good. Heaven help. So, you don't know? You don't know, so listen to me. I made you this way. Follow your nature. He might have said to someone else, I made you a liar. Follow your nature. He might have said to someone else, I made you a good heart. I don't know. But here he says, I made you a fighter. Don't put down your bow. You don't know the whole story. You don't know as much as I do. He persuaded by Krishna that he did not know everything. Right, we don't know everything. Because God, we say God is omniscient. Oh my goodness. Someone's got to know everything. Someone's got to know how all this happened, what we're here for, and what our makeup, huh? So he says, I don't know what he doesn't know everything, that even the opposing army did consist of friends, even if the opposing army was friends, people I love, even then, you have to be faithful, you have to fulfill your nature, you have to not be a good guy, not do good. You have to murder. That's your good. It's like Lady Macbeth, right? When she says that hatred, killing, murder, evil, be thou my good, says Lady Macbeth. Well, Shakespeare, wow. Friends, so the opposing army and kiss of friends and love was prominent amongst the foes, even with loving foes. This is very different from the do unto others as you want them to do to you. Or is it, right? To love thy neighbor, love the stranger. Huh? Huh? Is that phony? Is this the truth? Or are they both truths? What do we do with ourselves if opposing army did consist of friends and love was prominent amongst the foes? It was his business to fight, period. That's what you're here for. Do what you're here for. Find what you're here for. Do that, period. What are you here for? What are you here for? This indicating beyond, man pointing to beyond now, not Rosemary. I hardly like to call him fool. This fool, he looks at beyond. This fool, beyond is the fool. Does that mean he feels that way? Yeah. Smart ass, smart ass, smart ass, smart ass beyond, a fool. This fool, it was his business to fight, this indicating beyond. I hardly like to call him a fool, is, is too proud to admit that he could be mistaken, or that the world of thought that he inhabits conceivably be better than the world of his own invention. So, what is it? We're made up of thoughts, the world of thoughts that we invent, that invent us, the way we think, a world we make up, it makes us up. What happens when God says, here is the commandments, thou shalt not kill? Is God a fool? In this world, you got to kill. How are you going to not kill what you eat? You're going to, if you eat animals, even if you're a vegetarian, you're killing plants, or thou shalt not kill, then starve to death. Darwin comes. Survival, survival. Look at all the things we do for survival. Look at all. So, prominent amongst the foes, it was his business to fight. This indicating beyond, I hardly like to call him a fool, is too proud to admit that he could be mistaken, or that the world of thought, very important to be on, right? To us, the world of thought, beautiful world, amazing world. The world of thought that he inhabits could conceivably be better than the world of his own invention. Now, there's a trick here. It's Plato. Plato, the world of thought here has a meaning also. Plato's meaning of essence, of the ineffable, of the good itself, the world of thought, different from the world where we find ourselves here on planet Earth with all the stuff going on. It's not a matter. Hunger isn't a thought. Sex isn't just a thought. It's much more than a thought. Getting something to survive on isn't just a thought. It's a life and death matter. That's not just a thought. That's something I have to learn how to do. I have to do. It's not just thinking. It's doing. It's not just thinking. It's doing. I've got to get food. That's funny fun. My father did it nice. I was touching to me as a little boy. Where he's an immigrant, and he's starting up and he's learning how to survive on planet Earth, having come from Austria and not being educated yet. And I have to putting food on the table. That's his job. That was what the big job. I put food on the table. And yet, I don't think I was 3 or 4. One day he comes home and he has a little chick and a little duck, little baby duck and a little chick. And they were gifts to me. They were gifts to me, a little chick and a little duck. The duck splashed water on the chick, and the chick died overnight from cold or chill or whatever. But the duck survived. He became my friend. He became my friend. Until my grandmother killed him for a Shabbat meal, put him on the table. So anyway, what do we do? How do we do it? Where are we going? If the opposing army was friendly, a friendly army, foes, people I love in the army, I still have to fight. And then beyond love's thought, love's philosophia. Love of Sophia, love of thought. And Bion does. He loved thought. He was a fighter too, a fighter, an athlete, and a lover of nature, of living things. And here he could be mistaken that the world of thought that he inhabits could conceivably be better. So maybe we create a world of thought that could be better than the world we live in the Darwinian world we live in. How do we do this here? Admit. Okay. So we create castles in the air. We create beautiful things with our mind, ugly things with our mind, that our thought creates a world that isn't quite the world we live in. And even Freud, when he talks about discovering the unconscious and the way he particularly discovered the unconscious, he didn't create the unconscious. And even Freud talked about it that the way he describes the unconscious and its processes and its or constructs, their thoughts, their observations, and then thinking about the observations and creating a concept, a construct. And you can don't have to go far now to see competing constructs of life, of what the world is, completing systems, competing attitudes, competing constructs of what's what, of who's who and what's what. Okay, so can he be mistaken? Can his thinking be mistaken? Can people who put those people down, get them out, purify the country, make it great again? That is, can someone be wrong about what they think? How does one allow for that? Am I wrong? You think you have a different concept of human beings and who's who? Oh, you want to integrate? You want to make everybody equal? Who's right? Who's wrong? These are concepts, but life is something else, like the struggle for survival in all sorts of ways. Anyway, what's the story here? How do we reconcile our thinking with nature, with what is, with the kinds of processes that go on? We're not, we haven't stopped trying. We have not stopped trying. We're still working at it very much. So you could be mistaken, or that the world of thought that he inhabits, his world, that's your world, it's his world, it's Elon Musk's world, it's the President of the United States world, it's Hitler's world, it's all the worlds of thought. Who's who's better than who? You know, I happen to know about 1923. My father came in right before the immigrant law was passed. So he beat it by less than a year. He got in, and and I couldn't understand in the Second World War, and I was very, I was, the war started when I was, it started here when 36, when I was 5. And then there was, I couldn't understand how Roosevelt, who was a great, who we loved Roosevelt. Roosevelt, he wouldn't, there were ships of Jews coming from Europe to come to the state. He wouldn't let them in. He wouldn't let them in. I didn't get it. I didn't get what that, I just didn't get it. He didn't let the ships go somewhere else. Well, here we are. Here we are. Not particularly the Jews at the moment, but lots of, and so on. So proud to admit that he could be mistaken. Your thinking, your way of thinking, your attitudes could be mistaken. Wow. That he could be mistaken, or that life was more than the sum of your thinking. And you think about life and you try to make life better. And is your thinking going to make it better or worse? It's like when he talked about truth, compassion, and truth, cruelty. Or could be the same thing, positive and negative love. Love that kills and love that saves. Okay. Too proud and so on. It can, that, what is better, thought or reality? Freud was terrific at that. The reality function is in, it's sort of like a process of learning about it. It's in process of impinging, and you're getting to know it. It's and your thoughts about what is reality and how do we get along with it, and how do we not only survive but prosper and do good to the world, good to others, not just prospering at someone else's expense. And so so Bion is raising a basic. He's very subtle in raising one basic problem and how human life works or could work or doesn't work, right through practically every paragraph, every sentence. So I remember sending a very good friend of his to Oxford to try to show him that even then he was behaving like Achilles sulking in his tent. So this is a man talking still about Bion, some part of Bion, saying, even with these problems, I sent a very good friend of his to Oxford, probably a soldier, an ex-soldier, to try to show him that even then he was behaving like Achilles sulking in his tent. So we got this other mood, other emotional tone of Bion now, sulking. It wasn't exactly the way he was when his baby Parthenope came and wanted to be held and cuddled and touched and loved. He wasn't maybe sulking then, but it doesn't exclude sulking, his icy, paralyzed state, stiff state. But sulking. Now we have sulking. Achilles sulking in his tent. What do I do? The enemy is all around. I am my own enemy. Is this what I was born? This is what I was created for? Achilles, Achilles, the Achilles heel. Is every part of me an Achilles heel? Is there any zone of safety? And so sulking, sulking. So meanwhile, Rosalie has a disapproving silence. And now we're talking about beyond sulking, at least through man's eyes. So are you any better than that? Like Achilles sulking in his tent. You think you're good? Beyond, I don't know if he thought he was good or not. He was very, very helpful, but he was 2 years before his death. It may be a different thing. But I think he's showing how complexity, multiplicity, the words he uses in cogitations. Multiplicity, complexity. Yes, it's all there. The whole kaleidoscope, all the paints, all the colors. So sulking in his tent, the friend became someone, a man of consequence, though suffering terrible setbacks. So the friend that man sends to Oxford, Beyond's friend, becomes someone in the world. I love it was in the Second World War where the French created this notion of the operational personality, where people without emotions, without sensitivity, without feelings for others could run the government. They learned how to do things. They were operational. They weren't emotional. They weren't sensitive. Well, they were maybe, who knows how, but that's not what they lived by. They lived by manipulation of things to get what they think they want. Oh, really? Did Hitler plan to commit suicide in a bomb shelter? Is that what he wanted? Oh my goodness. So the world, I remember, so the man he sends to the good man he sends to Oxford, sulking in his tent. Why? Because life wasn't what he hoped it would be, what he thought it could be, what he wanted it to be. Here's Freud again. Wish, and reality. Construct and reality. Beautiful. I don't know why people don't like him today. Oh, yeah, I know, because of his misogyny. No, he wasn't a misogynist. Because of the hierarchy he had. That was it. The friend became someone, becoming someone. Beyond became someone, to become someone. Like Achilles sulking in his tent. That's what happens when you become someone, you sulk. I think the current president's face is often sulking. I don't know, just the way I see it. I feel he's often sulking. And I can't help feeling it. I'm probably off on this, but probably a projection. But in that photo of the inauguration, where you had Musk, Zuckerberg, and was it Bezos? All three around, billionaires around. I I'm probably, my own sugar. But when I looked at Zuckerberg's face, I thought he felt ashamed of betraying himself. Oh no, he could put it down. He's not going to give in to that. But I couldn't see. I saw on his face, I betrayed myself. Self-betrayal. No, no, no. He's not going to make that. That'll never come out. He's not going to. But I thought I saw it on Zuckerberg's face. Just there it was. Oh yeah, he was, at the ceremony, and so it's a grandiose enjoyment at the inauguration. But and he's going to win from this, right? Okay. but I thought I saw a feeling of self-betrayal. That was very touching for me, if I saw it right, but I was moved by that little, did he betray himself to do this? Well, am I right? I don't know. That's what I felt. So it would be laughable if we're sulking, sulking, sulking. It would be laughable were it not tragic. All right, so this is important, the conjunction of laughter and tragedy, mocking and tragedy, ha ha ha, and tragic. Laughing when you kill, laughing when you see. It's a terrific conjunction that you can do an awful lot with. The the uh, the laughable, tragic. So we have a lot of things in literature about the laughable, what to call it, the laughable foibles of human beings. Laughable, just like they're all clowns, they're all foible, they all mess up in some way, and it's all a laughable thing. Bion remains a fool still. He's still a fool. Well, I don't, you could interpret that lots of different ways. One of the associations, and it doesn't do justice to this, is his feeling ashamed when he got the Medal of Honor in the war. I'm getting a medal and I'm ashamed of what I felt, the fear I felt. I was not a hero. It was, as what one of the thoughts he wrote about was, it's the thought of, it's as easy to get killed running away from the enemy as running toward the enemy. So he ran toward the enemy. He took, went toward the enemy. For that, he was decorated. Oh, and we have all the depictions of holding his dead soldiers in his arms, and it's very moving. So Bion remains a fool still. He sulks in his tent and feels how wonderfully like Achilles he is. So it's a mixture. He's proud of himself, he honors himself, and he sulks, and he sees that he's, you know, it's a tragic element, laughs at himself, cries. We don't have crying here. We don't have tears here, not yet anyway. And the laughter is a kind of tears, is kind of crying, this kind of laughter. How like Achilles he is. It would be laughable were it not tragic. I realize it must be terrible for you to have the pain of discovering that someone one has loved and admired is not worth your love. This is cruel. Is he talking to Rosemary? Is he talking to Bion? Is he talking to himself? That my love, that those who I love is not worth it. What about love God with all your heart and soul and might? Is God worth it? Come on now, please. Yes, no. Once and St. Paul says yes in one breath, and in another breath he says, watch out. Someone's coming. Okay. So we got this mixture. We've got this all the mixture on the palette, all the things. And I love to watch the modern painters put, there's a lot like Picasso movies and all, see them mix up the palette, mix up the colors. So what something you think is one color turns into something that doesn't have a name yet. It's another color. You mix them up in all kinds of ways, mixing up the feelings, mixing up the attitudes. And so in discovering that who you loved isn't worth it, I I don't know. What if you loved Hitler? What if you loved, I don't know. Even worse, in his own private hell, which you and I can see him suffer and realize that he has always lavished love and admiration upon himself. So now we have the egocentricity he's talking about as it now appeared. Love thyself. What kind of love? A superior love? I'm better than everyone else? Love. No one else deserves a love? Or is it combined with trying to wash the hate away, the self hate away? Or it's such a mixture. There's good to it and there's issues. Your own private hell. So we got that now spelled out. Private hell, my private hell. How this chapter is in some way about my own private hell, Beyond's private hell. And it's very open. It's a terrifically open moment here, talking about his private hell. At least the man is now accusing people. If you were a man, you would stand up to yourself. If you were a real man, you wouldn't be like this. You would, and so on and so on. His own private hell, which you and I can see him suffer and realize that he has always lavished love and admiration upon himself. What kind of love and admiration? Filled with self-hate? What kind of love? What kind of pride? What kind of great? I had the fantasy the last few days. I would love Kohut to be here now. I really would like to hear what Kohut would say about the grandiose self, Freud's megalomania. We have narcissists. We have at least 2 books by Murray Stein and Nathan Schwartz on someone's narcissism. And I'd love Kohut to be. I want to hear from Kohut. The admiration is still, as always, devoted to his least admirable qualities. Now, if Hitler were in therapy, maybe he would be loving his least admirable qualities, his ability to kill, to cheat, to steal, to get on top, to fool, to create an impression that would give him power. Maybe he was in love with his least admirable qualities. What part of us loves our worst part? And what part of our loves our in-between part? And what part loves our best part? I love parts of the Tanya, because it does a lot with the in-betweener. He calls them the in-betweener. There's the good, there's the evil, and the in-betweener. And you're all here. You're all here. Thus, admiration is still always devoted to his least. So he's talking about the worst in us now. And the deception of goodness, and the reality of the worst. A lot of people are feeling something like this now without putting it this way. But a lot of people are worried and feeling something like this now. Now, Beyond makes an appearance, right? Here comes Beyond, the guy Beyond, not man, and not, here comes Beyond. Shut up, I say, shut up, I don't want to hear it. So this is like Freud's defenses. I don't want to know this stuff about myself. And, there used to be the thought, what does psychoanalysis do? It unearths all these trauma, unearths all this bad stuff. With sometimes good stuff, but shut up, I don't want it. Don't make me feel bad about myself. I feel bad. No, shut up. I only want to feel good. Shut up. Shut myself up. The inner part, not my outer part, my inner. Shh, my critic, my self-critic. Who did that? It was Mary Henley. And Danuska, my teacher, who got me through, helped enormously get me through to get a doctorate. Boy, did she save my life a number of times. And she had I wish, I don't know where to send you to read. Google Mary Henley and see what you find. And Mary, Henle. See what you can find. I don't, you, there were a number of what we used to call, are they still spinsters, right? Women who never got married, and got, oh, New England spinsters was the word then. And one saved me in high school and one saved me in graduate school. And Mary Henley. So she had some whatever, and she loved Jung. She said about Freud, he knew better. So she was a little disparaging of Freud. He knew better, but she liked Jung. And she had one of her depictions of the psyche had to do, there's an inner friend and an inner critic. I don't think she said enemy, but she knew about that. An inner friend and an inner critic. And she wrote a little bit about, you know, she had a Gestalt background, and she wrote a little bit about the friend and the critic inside. So shut up, shut up, shut up. I don't want to hear it, please. I want to just shh, have a Shabbat, have time off, have a rest. I got to lie down and get away from myself. I did that in high school. It was so lovely to lie down on the grass by the water and just look at the sky. Peace. Shut up. So the man comes, man. You see, Rosemary, there's nothing more we can do. Let us leave him. He's a hopeless case beyond. The man or woman who is given the privilege of making a decision also has the privilege of making the wrong one again and again. So what wrong decisions did we make in becoming the kind of being we are? What was wrong? Feeling wrong. It hurts. It hurts. I feel wronged. It hurts. What's wrong? What's wrong? Me, I'm wrong. Okay. Well, you're right. I'm right. Wrong. Right and wrong. Right? Rumi, right? There's a field beyond right and wrong. I'll meet you there. A lovely, you know, Rumi is here. Okay. You sound remarkably smug to me, says Beyond. If my choice is between remaining in me or becoming like you, I do not know that I am convinced that I would feel greatly improved by becoming like you too, meaning Rosemary and Matt. So who's better? Who's better? I'm not as bad as you think I am, says Beyond. He's defending himself. It's another part. It's another, I wouldn't say it's the good, better, great part or something, but it's just so I'm not all that bad. You're depicting a totally dark thing here. I've had good moments. I've had moments and done good things. I've even done good things for other people. I can testify to that. And you see, you sound remarkably smug, says Beyond. So man is being smug. Man is being smug by depreciating us, by depreciating human beings. Depreciation has a smug basis. Appreciation. I got that thought some years ago. I don't remember. I was picturing the graveyard in Passaic where my father, mother, brother, relatives that came over are. And I said, well, what I, and then this Freud's tombstone where Shlomo, and that's my father. My father Shlomo, he changed his name, and I pictured my tombstone having mainly two words: thanks, thank you, and appreciation. Thanks and appreciation. So it's not just dark and black here, but Dion says here, well, you know, I don't know, you don't sound too great yourself. You're putting everything down. You're putting everything down. Everything looks dark to you. Everything looks wrong. Everything is wrong, Fred. And so he's saying it in his own way, thanks and I appreciation. Thank you. You sound remarkably smug. If my choice is between remaining in me or becoming like you. So it's not all there is to me. But what you're depicting me is not the whole picture. I do not know that I am convinced that I would feel greatly improved by becoming like you two, who puts everything down. Everything is wrong. That's that side of the personality, the critic, the negative. The negative can be positive, right? A lot of creative negative. A lot of creative negative. I remember when I was a bad boy, when I was 2 or 3 or 4, when I was a bad boy, sometimes I felt stronger. It didn't feel bad to feel bad. It felt, oh, affirming. Or affirming. Margaret Mahler has good passages about that. So you sound okay. So then man comes in. You would not become me, that is sure, only like me. So man is now defending himself. You would not become me. You couldn't become me. Only I am me. But you could become like me, more like me. So this is important because it brings up the idea of analogy, metaphor. You could become like me. It's like comparing, I am, like a flower, like a bee, like a, it goes, it stings like a bee. All the, what's the thing that's going around now? If you haven't seen it, I'll find it and send it. Robin Bagay sent it to the group CEO about broken promises or broken America. I forget how it went now. Praise the broken promise of America. Is that what it is? Praise the broken promise of America. It's a woman poet whose name I didn't know, but we found it. And praise the broken promise of America. So, man, you would become like me, not me. I can't become you, you can't become me, but we can like each other, become like each other, taste each other, and appreciate the taste. You would borrow as you did from your father and mother with the understanding that you would never be called upon to pay back the debt. So everything that we got from each other, we all get from each other. It happens automatically, spontaneously. You can't stop it. It's permeable. We're permeable. Yeah, we rigid. Keep it out, shut it out, evacuate. We're permeable. Also, we're permeable. And we give each other lots of good things just by being. Bad things, good things, but good too. Just by being. We can feel it, the look in the face, the way the body moves, anything. It could be anything. So, man, attend. This is August 7, 8 of our era. Atheist, a Cronus, a moral, a aesthetic, aesthetic. Watch. Your eye will become adjusted and you see. So we're all these things. He keeps on going back all these horrible things. In the words, if I could find it offhand, the passage in the near the end. Well, we'll get to it. We'll get to all these yucky things. Well, here we are. You will call atheist, acronist, amoral, aesthetic. I don't know what you want to call different events, but all these open up different realms. And there's so you can't help. I mean, I can't help. Well, many people I know can't help see so much of what's going on in the political world now as amoral, amoral. It's amoral. And atheist, acronist, amoral, aesthetic. Watch. Your eyes will become adjusted. Get adjusted to the line. Get adjusted to the stealing. Get adjusted to the killing. What we have to do to live, to stay alive. What? Get adjusted to the loving. Get adjusted to the creating, to the beauty. My goodness. Atheist. Can you see? And this is a big one. What can you see? Can you see? What do you see when you see? Because when our current president sees something, it looks very different than when Hillary or Bill or Joe sees something. So Beyond says, I see a man that he asks questions. I see a man, a shade, a ghost. He's talking about the man. He's talking about man. Who is man? What is man? Is man real? Is man a shade? Is man a ghost? What do I see? A shade, a ghost, a man? And what is it to be a human being? I was puzzled in ninth grade when I guess in Mrs. Polaris's history class. I was a little, well, I don't know, it sounds funny, but she stood up, she was nice, she was very helpful. But she stood up, I think, in the first class and talked about history as his story. His story. Well, what about her story? It's like the pronoun dominance. But I was touched by her saying it's a story of us. What history is, it's our story. It's the story of our beings and what we make of them and how we use them and how it uses us. And it's in progress. It's happening now. It keeps on going as long as someone's here. So we'll see. This is so. I see a man, a shade, a ghost. Don't talk, says man. Listen. This is a biggie thing too, that we're learning how to listen. We're learning to listen. What do we hear when we listen? It's very important. We're just at the beginning of this. It's very, very important. Hearing, listening, sitting still and listening. Don't watch, look. Don't just watch, but see what's there. Listen, see. That's better. More like an encephaly, you will call it someday. And I don't know how to translate this part, but it has to do with metaphor. I looked that much up, where it has to do with how things can be like each other or unlike each other or symbolize each other, or like Shakespeare and Freud both talk about metaphor as opening reality, opening psychic, opening experience. How metaphor could bring things together and open experience in unexpected ways. Like the Vatara Sutra has passages like that in its own way. Nameless dimensions opening experience that we don't know how to talk about. So don't talk, listen. Don't watch, look. So man is an old man. He's giving some good advice here, how to be a therapist, how to do self-therapy. That's better. World like an encephaly, you will call it someday. And then just comes this passage, which if someone can look up or figure out or translate, I'd like to know what it means exactly. That's better. You are coming over to me quite clearly now. This is infrasensuous.
Mike, I can translate
Please.
this part.
Okay.
It's from this poem. There's last week you mentioned the French poem. It's called Vitrail. And vitrail is the stained glass window in the churches
Right, right.
or temples. So it says he takes parts of that poem, and then he makes a sentence of his own, and it's saying, with their eyes of stone, they're gazing there, without hearing, without voice. The rose in the stained glass window ever blooms.
And what do you make of that so far?
It's I looked at the poem. There was an English translation of the poem as well.
Wow.
It's describing a church, a very, very, very old church, where some gentle people or old warriors are buried in the church. And from where they're laying dead, they're looking at the stained glass window. And it says at the very end of the poem, with their eyes of stone, they're looking without hearing, without voice. The rose in the stained glass window ever blooms.
Wow.
And then he's saying, this is the infrasensuous, ever blooming, which we don't hear, we don't see, but it's always blooming.
Wow. Wow. Can you send us or send me or send the English translation? Is that
Yeah,
copyable?
I sent it last week to the list actually,
Oh my
but
goodness, I didn't see it.
I'll resend it.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah.
Welcome.
So 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 there's a contrast of different domains, being not seeing and hearing, but there's a growing, a blooming somehow. Is that, am I getting it?
I see it as like he's speaking always about the infrasensuous we cannot hear, see, touch. It's there all the time, and like the presence of God, presence of awe, always happening, ever happening. I get it like that.
That's
And yeah,
beautiful.
man is directing beyond to that, his attention towards there. That's what I think.
Yeah, that's lovely. That's lovely. Yeah.
Mm.
What we can't see or hear, or what we don't see or hear, can be creating beautiful colors somehow. But I'll look at it. I'll look forward to seeing.
And it never dies. It just always stays alive.
Oh my gosh, yes.
That's what it is in bloom. It's absolutely exquisite.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Ever blooming.
Ever blooming, staying, being with us, being present.
Okay, that's a nice, going through this hell here, it's nice to get to a point where ever blooming. This is not only possible, but essential. Yeah, ever blooming, always new births, ever blooming. Thank you. Okay. Infrasensuous. I shall know what your amorphous senses tell me. So what kind of knowledge is it from the unknown? The beyond is a big emphasis on unknowing, a creative unknowing. My term is creative unknowing, but it is the work of unknown, the importance of unknowing, and I guess now we'll just say for the moment anyway, and growing or blossoming or even something good. So then Beyond pops in. The man didn't do so badly there. Man didn't do so badly. In response to Beyond saying, first saying, I don't know how much better you are than me, and then saying, you know, owning up that, that that's more complex than he's letting on. The man is filled with the kind of tenderness. Ah, so how did this happen? So here we have this man who is everything being put down, and now all of a sudden there's a blooming of a feeling of tenderness. The man is filled also with a kind of tenderness. Suddenly, with the utmost violence, he beats in the woman's skull, and pouring sweat and overwhelmed with fear, I won't watch, I shall not fight. So, tenderness and beating, the, the, what are we up against? One hand is loving kindness and one hand is beating. He doesn't let you rest here. The man is filled with a kind of tenderness. And what kind of tenderness? So suddenly, with the utmost violence, he beats in the woman's skull, and pouring sweat and overwhelmed with fear, I won't watch, I shall not fight. So back and forth, in and out. The man comes back. Get back, you damn fool, to Rosemary. Poor stupid wretch, he has had a sane episode. I was afraid he might not stand it. Get on. So now man is calling beyond sane. Because why? In one way, we can do lots of things with it. One way I'd like to mention, both Bion and Klein talk about progressions of affect and attitude worlds in infancy. From, so let's say, from this feeling, that feeling, from all the palette, the flooding of this, the flooding of that, this comes, that comes. Then he talks about splitting the feelings, the good feelings, the bad feelings, the pain, pleasure, the agony, the joy, splitting. Melanie Klein does things that projecting one of them out this way or interjecting one of them out that way, splitting off the affects from them. So we have, instead of a fluid affect field, a flow of affect field, nuances after nuance, you now have a split. Here's the good ones, here's the bad ones. And that goes through life. This is good, this is bad, you're good, this is not, and so on and so on. Here's the good one, here's the bad one. There's a lot of life that is like that. I saw a beautiful pear. Who brought this pear home? And then the next day it was all mushy and brown. It couldn't be eaten. So, well, we finally got ones that could be eaten. And Jacob made porridge with the pears, and just yummy. So we got here the kaleidoscope, the palettes, the flow, the undulating, the known, the unknown, all the different dimensions, accessible, inaccessible, tenderness and smashing a woman's skull. Wow. I feel like killing you. I feel like loving you. Get back, you damn fool, to Rosemary. Poor stupid wretch. He has had a sane episode. Why has he had a sane episode? Get back to Freud and Melanie Klein. Splitting from them, splitting affect is a way to handle the affect. And then it moves on towards, for Freud, tolerating ambivalence, reaching another stage later in infancy, early childhood, to some extent anyway, all of life, how to tolerate the mixed feelings, tolerating the ambivalence, tolerating the splitting, tolerating the affect world that is being dealt with in a way that's inadequate. More tolerance in Freud, tolerance for ambivalence, ambivalence, and in Klein, you have the movement from the paranoid, schizoid, position where one tries to project out the pain into someone else or whatever way we handle it, to what she calls the depressive position, where both affects are now beginning to be felt as part of the same psyche. They're being internalized, they're both there, the love and the hate. And what do we do to handle the love and the hate, and the destruction and the goodness? She relies on, sounds like Yom Kippur, sounds like Rosh Hashanah. She relies on reparation, repair, making reparation, process forgiveness, reparation, growth, being able to, in Beyond's terms, tolerate the seemingly opposite affects and not keep on splitting them off. Well, if you need to split them off, okay, but it's better to build up a tolerance and learning how to be with yourself and others in a multitude of states. So let's see.
Mike,
Yeah.
I was just aware of the time,
Oh my goodness, is it?
taking a look. It's
Oh,
45 about.
you must have a session with someone. Okay.
Well, no, I mean, feel free to keep going. I just
No.
usually.
I have a session with someone.
Okay.
So we'll stop here. Let me just take a peek. So bashing in the skull, well, we've got a lot of skull bashers in this world at this moment, I'm afraid to say. But take that metaphorically. But it's also some literalness to it. Okay, so we'll begin here at the bottom of the page, 159 next time, and it's only a very short. It's only a very short chapter, but he's very, very, very. I don't know what to call it. Not surgical, but he's really saying, look what we got here. What are we gonna do? How are we gonna be? How can we learn how to be better with ourselves and each other? And look around you and see what's happening. There are moments of that, but help. Ayúdame. But we gotta stop now for now, and we'll have a good week. Treat yourself well, and we'll hang out next week. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye for now.
Thank you.